Fairy tales can come true. It can happen to you if you're young at heart. For it's hard you will find to be narrow of mind if you're young at heart. You can go to extremes with impossible schemes. You can laugh when your dreams fall apart at the seams, and life becomes exciting with each passing day. And love is either in your heart or on its way. Don't you know that it's worth every treasure on earth to be young at heart? For as rich as you are, it's much better by far to be young at heart. And if you should survive to 105, look at all you derive just by being alive. Now here is the best part. You have a head start if you are amongst the very young at heart.
Hi, my name is Hobart Brown, and I'm glorious founder of the World Championship Kinetic Sculpture Race. Started way back in 1969 when I built a tricycle for my son. And others built other machines, and the tricycle was way out of proportion, so we ultimately wound up with something called a kinetic sculpture, which we had a race. We think it not just as a race, but it's a race of the ultimate human being. It tests your engineering, it tests your artistic, and it tests your physical. It's the ultimate race, the race. It all starts in Arcata at the noon whistles at the square, takes off across small country roads, winds its way all the way to Samoa where it enters the sand, several miles of sand, then into Eureka where they spend the night. The next morning, bright and early, they take off for Fields Landing, and at Fields Landing they face 2 miles of ocean water and across to more sand, spend the night at Camp Calistoga, getting up the next morning facing about 8 more miles of sand, then face Crab Slough, also the Eel River, which is full of quicksand and slimy slope, and work their way down more country roads into Ferndale. After they reach Ferndale, there are crowds there waiting for them to cheer them on. It's exciting. They've endured the whole race. They've accomplished something, and the glory is there for them at this time. They've really made it. It'll change their life from then on. To start the race, first we have the brake test. There's a couple of things worked out here, whether the machine can stop or not, also whether or not it breaks down. It's very important that they get the good start and they test it in front of the crowds. If they have a failure, this is a great time to have it happen because there's thousands of people to share in the agony. This is one of the honors you just saw there, the speed wobble. That's something we try to achieve in the sculpture race. Artistic, as you can tell, is an important factor in this sculpture race. This sculpture is 75 feet long. As you'll be able to tell here, a lot of these sculptures aren't tested until this very moment during the race, so there's a lot of things that get worked out. They fall apart, break down, all kinds of things happen to them. It's a wonderful race that tests the mind, the machine, and the artistic. Oops, and the foot. And now back to the crowds and the chemical abuse test.
Wait a minute. Close your eyes. Okay, everybody's eyes closed. Okay. No, this one can't follow directions. Wrong hand. Do it again. Arms out to your side. Close your eyes. Lift your nose. Okay. There. We're rolling in a pool for the there. Therapeutic luxury items. All right. How many life vests here? How many pilots? Who approved those? Coast Guard. Okay. Sunscreen. Yeah. Sunscreen. What number? 44. Well, all right, 44. Water bucket. Water bucket. Water. Pilot. Water, water. Here you go. One. Water. Two. Okay. Toothbrush. Toothbrush. Horn. Let me hear the horn. tool. What else? Teddy bear. Teddy bear. Teddy bear.
I don't like a teddy bear.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. No teddy bear.
Hey, here it is.
No. Is it a panda? Let me see.
Right here.
Where's it? No, that's not fun.
That's it.
Yeah, it is. All right, you got me on two angles. You got 6 of them. That's a painted teddy bear.
No, it's not.
It's not.
It's painted.
It's a painted teddy bear. Okay, you ready to go?
And now one of the larger sculptures, the Calistogosaurus.
Right forefinger to left nostril. Okay. Flares. Okay, take fire to it. Compass. Toothbrush, toothpaste, sunscreen, bucket, sleeping bags, flares, life preservers, official approved life preservers. Who approved them?
I did.
Okay, very good. All right, you ready for your brake test? Let's go.
Turn it on, see.
Okay, you ready for your brake test? Ready? Go!
The title of this sculpture is obviously They Came From Out of Town.
Toothbrush, toothpaste, teddy bear, water, water bucket, compass, horn, let me hear the horn. Sunscreen. Tail light.
In the back.
On. Headlight. On. Wait, sunscreen. Go. Fast. Let's go. Go.
You're marking in the flag. They shove it. Couple of big muscle guys looking here. They're going for speed.
And some of the sculptures actually failed to stop.
Watch it, watch it.
And now more of the steroid test.
Negative steroid test result. Okay, very good. All right, that's everything. Get ready to go.
Now I envy you.
Can you imagine grown people doing this?
Right test. Arms up. Out. Very good. Point finger, touch your nose. Go. No, miss the nose. One more time. Right forefinger, nose. All right.
Tough bananas coming screaming down the course. Back away, back away.
Look at that banana go. Next time you banana split, away.
Oh, easy. Beautiful machine.
And now the noon whistle and the Le Mans start. Gentlemen, start your feet.
It's going to start from the last weekend. Let's give them a big hand. Look out there, guys. Remember, this is the break test. Keep an eye on this. And here comes Look at that. What a great machine. Here comes two guys over 40 going to the beach. Let's give them a big hand. They're sponsored by Sears.
There's a lot of energy and a lot of emotion that comes out of this race. When people leave Arcata, they've worked for months and months on their machines. They've designed, they've spent money, they've located sponsors, they've had emotional problems, and here they are at the start of the race. They're actually going to test the very thing that came out of just their mind. They're going to work their way, of course, down through little country roads and on the sand dunes, about 8 miles of sand dunes until they get to this spot here, Dead Man's Drop. It's called Dead Man's Drop because if you're standing at the top of it and you look down, you wonder if you'll survive. It looks much steeper in the reality than it does here on the film, but the racers know it. You can see it in their expressions and their cautiousness about going down. These sculptures now are made like a lot of aircraft. They're very fragile, and if they turn or steer or make a mistake here, it can tear the wheels off and end the race and make their 3 days of glory shortened by quite a bit. So you'll see a lot of careful treatment of the sculptures and a lot of very, very sensitive movement by the machines. It's exciting to watch them, and you can hear in the crowds when the crowds are yelling and stuff like that, when they can feel where this possibility of defeat or where total collapse or where all of a sudden your dreams, you think that you thought they would really make it, won't make it at all. All of a sudden it just sits there and falls apart. We've had people cry, we've had people laugh, some people can go back then, of course, overnight and work it out again. This one is a 75-foot sculpture by Ken Beitelman, and it was sponsored by the Yakima Rack Company, and they have put here a really clever design. In fact, this design was tested all the way across the U.S. It goes, it was pedaled by June Moxon and Ken Beitelman. Two of these segments actually went across the U.S. Of course, they had different bodies on them, but made it all the way and proved that style was really good. Here we have a little bit of a purchased commercial flotation wheel that worked good in the sand and also in the water. Of course, you can see here he's using a handbrake. He has added his own adaptation to something that he can commercially buy. A lot of these sculptures are really exciting because there is nothing to copy from. There's no book you can get how to build one. There's nothing. You just have to start out with an idea in your head, stack some wheels up in your garage floor and start putting axles and bearings and sprockets together until you got something that'll actually go down the sand. This one came all the way from Los Angeles. These people are very important in the art world in Los Angeles and have become a relation of this race. This is as much for them as it is for anybody, and they have done an unbelievable job from their first little airplane to the other machines they put in. They're just absolute works of art, including a pedal-powered, complete-looking Cadillac. Here you have some mosquito-like affairs. These are here again like aircraft. They're designed to go forward in a light, very fragile way, but nevertheless, if they've designed it right, there's no need to carry all that extra weight. Of course, now we've got to face tomorrow. We have to face the water crossing, 2.5 miles or a little over 2 miles of water, bay water. Now, this is water that's subject to tide, winds. It's also about 40 feet deep. The sculptures here, most of them, because of their size, have not been tested. So when you see a success here, you can hear the crowds yell and get excited about it being a success. And of course, you'll see a lot of them that fail. We've had 60-footers roll over the bay like a semi-truck. We've had to worry about safety and make sure that the sculpture racers and pilots can get out of the sculptures on time and be safe. So, and you can see in the background here we have Coast Guard, there's boats here to help people, and sometimes in this race you'll find people cheat, and so this is one of the golden opportunities. When they get out in the water and their drive systems don't work, then they may enlist the help of a boat, which if you ask them what they're doing, they'll claim they're pushing that small boat with their push rope. But anyway, a lot of these use the paddle wheel here, as you can see, and then some use a propeller. And in the other races, like in Boulder and Port Townsend, we see a lot more propellers than we do paddle wheels. Here happens to be the place they use the most paddle wheels. There's a whole lot of theatrics that go on here, and the racers really get into their act, they really get into their costumes, and they're having a wonderful time. And the rush and the thrill of what's going on right here now as he uses chicken feed to get his chicken egg sculpture to the water lets the crowd know that they're ready to go for anything. Now, this fella here has spent a lot of time. He's wanted to race for years, and all of a sudden, he gets to race. Randy Frost is his name. He's going to try it out. Wasn't that great? Now he'll roll it out again, and he'll have to do some repairs. Something he forgot when he left the starting line. Here's a sculpture that's very scientific. Now, I believe this is the Navy's sculpture. Now, they've worked for years to put this sculpture together, and each new group of Navy people that come to the Navy base here in the local Humboldt County area will take on this mission. And they've had many failures, and many of them have rolled over and sunk in the bay, which is not really a whole lot of real positive strokes for the Navy, but they have a lot of fun and they stick with it. Here's a sculpture now that you can see where science is not has not been used to the fullest, but look at them. I just love the fact that they're out there and they're totally depending on floating across this bay with just an idea. There's mud about 2 foot deep out in the middle. There are 3 deep channels they have to cross. At the same time, we're capable of 7-mile-an-hour tides here, so it really can be dangerous and it can really be rough. So here's Grandpa and his machine. He's sponsored by most of the bars in the area. He's been with the race since he flew a kite one time through the race, and now it's become a way of life for him. He's a hero in the race. He's interviewed. He's nationally known. And so from a little trailer house out on the road to the beach, this fellow became a star, a Humboldt County hero. Now this sculpture here is called Return of the Steelhead. It ran last year. And it's very appropriate for the area, being that we're a fishing industry, and we still are to some degree, but this is one of the trout or salmon type fish that we have up here in our local waters, so it's very appropriate. He's having a good time here. As you can tell, it's well designed. Now here's one that we talked about earlier that had kind of a commercial tire wheel, and it's very good in the water. In fact, these are used in some of the lakes I've seen in the Midwest. But he's adapted it to go over the sand dunes like the Sahara Desert, and he's adapted it to go through the mud and everything else. So he's trying out something different here for him. Plus, but he was able to buy a few commercial parts for it. Here's another interesting sculpture. Now, a lot of these sculptures, when they take off in the water, they really are sure they're going to float. They're beautiful. Like every time I see this sculpture, I think of Salvador Dali or Picasso, or it's weird. And a lot of these sculptures go very difficult to explain. We have a shoe here with a propeller on the top and wings that flap. And right now, their total concern is whether or not this will float. A very scary moment right here. This is the test. And they take off now. They have 2 miles of water. If they can make it out of here, as that water gets deeper and deeper, out where those boats are, you see out there's about 40 foot deep. Now this is the Calistogosaurus. Now, Dwayne Flatmo made this machine, and he's worked in harmony with Calistoga Water Company, which has been a big sponsor for our race and a big helper. He is the one responsible for the map. He's the one responsible for winning a lot of prizes. In fact, he won so many prizes one time the racers thought it was a fixed race, and then some reason or other he started losing. I don't know if that had anything to do with it or not. But anyway, here he is. He's in a great machine. Now, this is the first time he hasn't been able to go all the way. He broke down now, so he has to push and pull. So he doesn't have his ace status, which means that you've got to be on the machine pedaling every time it's moving forward in the direction of the race. You cannot push or pull. You have to completely depend on your mechanical apparatus to get you there, being able to drive into the water and out of the water, through the mud, through the sand, and everything. Then you receive the status of ace. Now, if you receive the status of ace, other racers have a great deal of respect for you. You gain the title of professor, and whenever you walk into a room, the ace pilot that walks into the room, all the rest of the drivers and racers and fans will stand up and salute the progress of what they've done. 38 miles of grueling, slow motion, pain, power, and glory. Here's a machine that's interesting. This machine's been ran 2 or 3 years and has been very successful. And sometimes these don't always remain successful. This one has sometimes because of the ocean water, the pipes rot out from inside and lose their stability. Now, this is a tragedy in most situations, but look at their faces. They're having fun. How many times can you legally, as an adult, waller in the mud, fall in the bay, and do all this and still be in the center of what's supposed to happen? This one's called Psychedelic Relic, or the Return of Psychedelic Relic. He's a real fan of the racers. Here we have no age limit on this, really, as long as we have responsible parents with them. The age limit of a single pilot is about 14. This is called Nightmare of the Iguana, and it's a 75-foot long sculpture, the longest, probably the largest sculpture in this year's race, the 1992 race. Now, there's 6 pilots here, and each one has done very well at this point. They're still in ace status. They're strong. The machine is very well designed. It's been sturdy. I don't think they've had any breakdowns at all. Now, what they're going to do right now is this is the first time they've tested it. But Ken Beitelman, and some of these other racers who have been very good in the race and stayed together, the machines that stay together now, they have a tendency to want to show off. And so I think when you watch this, you see these guys, what we would call, in anything else, would be called upstaging or milking it. But in this race, it's encouraged and fanned. We love to have upstaging. And if there's a microphone or a camera or something, I think you'll find most of these racers ready to participate. You can see here, he's going to show us how 2 miles of ocean water, 40 foot deep, with swells and waves and wind and sand on the other side don't even slow him down. He takes a loop just for the crowd. And the crowd, by the way, loves it. These people will stand out here watching these sculptures go in the water until the tide comes in up to about their waist, because they can't get back up on shore, but they'll stay there faithfully to watch it. This is a totally safe, as you can see, we test people to make sure they can get out. It's a totally safe race. It's a totally include all participants. The crowd, we have rules for the crowd so that they can feel like they're part of it, and they're yelling and cheering and everything else, and their participation is as much a part of it, and also the media is a much part of it. You see a lot of cameras and this has been on many, many television shows all over the world, and it's good copy, and the people and the crowd and everything go together. There's nothing here you would call hidden. There's nothing trying to be held back. This is a total expression of what these racers have done. They've built something in their mind. It's the ultimate race. They have figured out something in their mind, tested their engineering, put it together, make it work, then also become artistic, and then they've trained physically so that they can endure this long 38 miles of sand, mud, all kinds of terrain, and weather. In fact, Port Townsend claims that, and we do here too, in the event of sunshine, we'll race anyway. The name of this sculpture is Two Guys Over 40 on Their Way to the Beach. Here I think you'll probably see some cheating exercise right here. In fact, if you tell them they're cheating, they'll tell you, no, they aren't being towed, they're pushing that small boat with a push rope. Here comes my sculpture now, the Calistoga commuter, getting ready for the water entry.
But they're modest, they're a little modest. All right, now.
Bus has been ran quite a few years before, so it's sort of been tested but never loaded this much. Anyway, what we're going to do now is we're going to face the 2 miles of water, and then on our way to Camp Calistoga, where we'll spend the night out on the beach, and then the next morning get up bright and early and take off for Eel River. Now, Eel River is a river that has kind of dried up this time of year and left us with not so much water but a lot of quicksand. Now, this isn't the quicksand that'll kill you if you step off in it, but it's the kind of quicksand that'll suck up a sculpture in a minute and really make it almost impossible to move. So you'll see a lot of people pushing and pulling here who aren't going for ace status, and the others will actually pedal across this, places where even cars couldn't go. As you see here, these people are really earning this trip. Now, they've designed these machines, as you can see, to stay up on top of the quicksand. Otherwise, if they stopped, they actually would start to sink and probably go up to their axles. There's a lot of engineering goes into this very part right here. In fact, we're way ahead of the cars. Now, what we face right after we cross the Eel River then is the famous or the infamous slimy slope. It's got its name because it is slimy. It's hard to stay up, and we find that some of the sculptures, such as this banana here and some of the others, can actually climb the slope here again where a car couldn't. So we're far ahead of Detroit in engineering as far as slime and quicksand go. The name of this sculpture is the Top Banana, and it's known. It's very, very quick and very artistic too. The engineer on this has been doing the race since he was 16 years old. He's now in his 20s. He's married. The race has become very much a part of his life, and it's a beautiful machine too. Here we have success over the top now. All they have to do is a little country road into Ferndale. Here we have. Let's see. This is the Land Sharks. They won an award for the wildest, happiest, having the most fun pit crew. A bunch of kids from a local school here, and they just had a wonderful time. And here we saw this one in the water earlier, but they're going to try and make it. They're going to put every ounce of energy they can into pedaling up this slope. Now, the slope doesn't look very steep here, but it's quite steep. It's about 30 feet of mud and slime, and this is quite an achievement if we can make it up. You can tell about the gearing by how many times they pedal as opposed to how many times the wheel goes around. So you engineers will see that they go quite for a lot of low gears with a lot of energy and power. They made it. Now on down the road to where, and the roads now are just past cow pastures where the cows run out to see the sculptures because they're excited about them. Here's an exciting one. It looks like it. This surprised me that it even made it because it looks very, very loose in design, but here it is. And they're still on their wheels. They're still pedaling, and they're still in ace. It's fun doing a race like this where you can participate have a good time, get really muddy, and just the whole thing is a lot like the African Queen. It's just to get from point A to point B, and to make it is the winning of the race. You can see the thrill they get out of just making each obstacle is a success in itself. This is Melvin. This sculpture is famous all over the place. In fact, it winds up in different events across the country. I'm always seeing it on national television. When I first saw it, I thought, what a dumb design, but now I'm getting to where I really love it. These people really know what they're doing, and they're having a wonderful time. They represent our area very well, too, when they go to other HPV events and that sort of thing. This is Cowbell Boogie, built by Dwayne Flatmo. This is the second year it's ran, so this is an excellent, here again, an excellent machine. It looks a lot like Picasso. You can see it's been distorted. Here's another Dwayne Flatmo right behind it, and this is a Calistogosaurus. As we told you, this is one of the larger machines in the race. There's the Nightmare of the Iguana, and this one, I think this is the tallest one. It goes up above 14 feet, which causes obstacles with the forest and woods around. They have to move trees to come in. Then, of course, now what's left is after the little narrow roads is coming into Ferndale, and this is where the glory. This is what you've done. This is they've suffered. They've been sunburned. They've been thirsty. They've been argumentative. They have their terrors have flared. Their happiness has flared. They've had a romantic night. They've had a wonderful, wonderful time. And right now, there's a lot of emotion that goes into arriving here, because after all this endurance and all this test, and the fact that they really designed a machine or sculpture that would do this, it's a very emotional thing to see it work, to know that you actually completed it. You really are a person who can do what you say you're going to do. You're a person who can design what you think will work, and it works. And you can also do it artistically. And also you can be silly while you do it. You can see here the glory. Some people cry when they come in. And we've even had weddings in the race, too. We've had weddings, and we've had people get mad at each other. Of course, it doesn't last long, because any time when emotions are pitted against nature, which is the big element here, or pitted against yourself, then you have a lot of, you learn a lot about expectation and want. And it's not, in this race, I guess if it teaches anything, is don't expect too much, because anything could happen. This is Grandpa again. This is his moment now. He goes past one of the bars that's sponsoring the Palace in Ferndale, California. He has a delight. He loves his title. He's always interviewed. He's a great person to interview. His love of the race is really shown. Now, you heard me mention earlier that there are the participation of the crowd and the participation of the media and the participation of the racers. But one thing I haven't mentioned yet, and that's the participation of the sponsor. Like most events or pop art or anything like that, we'll use a sponsor's name or a sponsor's product if it sponsors a machine, whether it sponsors the race or the machine, but we'll use them and advertise them and make them part of the race. In fact, there was quite an award for the radio station KXGO for the one that displayed the best signed KXGO. So we encourage that. Actually, we want to blend the whole community. We're in a distressed area. This isn't exactly an area that has a lot of income after they shut off the timber and the fishing and everything else. So now we're open to wide open to tourism, and showing the product and showing what we're doing up here and showing we're having a good time in Humboldt County is essential to get this out nationally. This has been a great saver for us. This has filled our hotels and filled our motels, and it's made it a lot of fun. And the sponsors we've met have got into the mood of the whole thing, of the swing of it. This is Nightmare of the Iguana again, coming to the finish line. As you can tell, they've done pretty well. And when they first started, they were way too wide. In fact, legally, they couldn't go on the road, so they had to squeeze their legs into the side. In a way, it kind of limited their artistic here, but still they made it, and still is a great-looking sculpture. And they're happy at this point. You can see them showing off again. So here we are in Ferndale, Victorian town of Ferndale. Oddly enough, the finish line is right in front of Hobart Galleries. Isn't that strange? Me being Hobart. You notice on their pit crews, they have these heads with mouths that move, and if you talk to them, you'll catch yourself staring at the head, because the mouth that's moving really sounds like it's what's doing the talking. It's almost like a ventriloquist. It's interesting how people stay within their roles, as you can hear now. As these sculptures come into town, they're grunting and moaning and very, very caveman-ish about their, I suppose that's a Tyrannosaurus or something to that effect. But it looks very well. Looks the sympathetic attitude of the heads. That's very art. Dwayne's known for having robots given emotion. here again, the volunteers. We have so many volunteers. We have hundreds of volunteers that come in from all over the country to come and help in the race. They stand in the rain, they stand in the sunshine. Sometimes they will stand there for hours without seeing a soul or anything. It's a desolate spot on the race course. So without them and without Humboldt County and without the cities that go along with what we're doing, this wouldn't be possible. We're really lucky living up here in the Redwoods where we can have fun like this and have it also have a byproduct that it actually helps the area. Who would have thought this fragile machine would have made it? As you can tell, some of the tourists are in costume too, and they carry it all the way out. We had a thing, if a tourist was feeling grumpy, we have little smiles they can put on their face so they'll look like they're having a good time. I think you saw Psychedelic Relic wearing his smile when he came into town. This one obviously is broken down, but it's still rolling, and that's important. They've finished, and the glory is just as much for them as anyone else. I believe this is a one-man machine. This is a lonely visual being by yourself out there on that course. It's kind of like being on the moon alone. Burdale was established in 1850. And when we entered the first sculpture race, which went down this street here, which was only 3 blocks long, and only 7 entries, it drew 10,000 people to town, and they all had a good time, and that was the forerunners of this race. It actually made it was so well accepted and so well reviewed that we decided this has to go on, it has to become a fact, and so we did. We protected it, and the racers have worked. Here we have an all-woman machine. They've remained dignified through the whole race. Incidentally, this machine is very much a female event. They wouldn't allow any male to even touch it while they were working on it. It was very important that they do it all themselves. They would accept advice, but no way would they let anybody touch it. So June Moxon, the one waiting there, is the one spearheads that sculpture. And the winners of this great race are, first was the KXGO award that went to Kidney Bean, and that's an award given by a radio station. We have the second to last award. This is not the last place, but the second to last, which is very hard to get, went to Millennium Emu. And the worst honorable mention, which is known as the lowest award known to humankind, and it went to Madam Z, who came all the way from Canada. We have the Pit Crew Award, which is the best pit crew who served their crew the best and stayed the friendliest through the whole race. That went to the Sunny Bray Land Sharks. They were full of energy. And then the Mediocre Award, which we think is the highest award, taken from the middle of the pack, the absolute good example of what racing's all about, went to Bill and Ted's Bogus Adventure. They won a car, which is the biggest prize we give. We also have the Racer's Choice. That's where all the racers choose who they like the best, of course not counting themselves. And it went to Calistogosaurus. The Spirit Award is the one that this sculpture race has a spirit about it, and the racers and the judges all decide who gave the most spirit to the race and who got caught up mostly in the spirit, and they came from out of town. The Engineering Award, obviously for the best engineering, went to Vacaville Ace Chasers. And the Speed, now that's the fastest people to make it from Arcata to Ferndale, Mosquito Hawk. The Art Award went to Night of the Iguana, and the Grand Champion went to Top Banana. Hey, you're right. Hey, isn't this great? We're here in the daylight.
Yeah, you put those flashlights away. You don't need them here.
Yeah. What a crew. We had a wonderful time, as you can tell. We're a little hard on buses. In fact, does anyone want to buy a used bus? Anyway, thank you all for coming. It's been a wonderful race. And they give me far too much credit. Credit goes to all of you, spectators, racers, and everyone alike. And the town that lets us finish here. And the county that lets us have it. So let's give us all applause. All for our talented racers.